Well, hi, everybody, and welcome to our live broadcast, or webcast, if you will, from Carbondale, Illinois, which is the site of the total eclipse as it spreads across the United States. And the neat thing about Carbondale, Illinois, is this is the spot of the longest totality for the eclipse. I'm joined by James Wallace, astronomer with the Vigo County Conservation Club. James, this is an exciting day. What can we expect from an astronomical standpoint?
The first thing we're going to be looking for is first contact here in about 5 minutes,
okay,
when the moon just starts to cover the sun. And then we've got about 89 minutes before totality. It's going to be a wonderful time. I couldn't imagine a better place to be.
All right, and the weather is fine too, and so that's good. James, I'll let you get to what you need to do with your telescope over there.
Well, thank you very much. I'm off to check out lunar canyons.
Okay, thank you. Now, here is meteorologist Matt Brooks from WTHI-TV.
Hey.
And Matt, you're here today, and we have a lot of things to talk about.
Oh my goodness, we have so many things to talk about. First off, I'm very thankful to be here in Carbondale, Illinois. I've never seen a solar eclipse, annular, partial, or total. So I think this is going to be a real privilege, I should say.
All right, very good. And we have a science teacher here as well. And yeah, go ahead and give him the microphone. This is Greg Sloan from Woodrow Wilson Middle School in Terre Haute, Indiana, which is our home base. And Greg, you came along for the ride, and you're going to help us with questions and so on, right?
I did. I brought along some note cards from the students back home who wrote questions for us to answer as we go through the afternoon. And as we've been looking through them, they've got some really, really great questions. I think things that people who are watching are also going to want to know.
I think so too. And one of the neat things about what we're doing here today is having it interactive. And so you can go to my Facebook page. It's Kevin Orpert on Facebook, and you can send in questions. And throughout the course of the afternoon, and as we approach totality, and even after, what we'll be doing is answering these questions, making it very interactive. So if you have a question, please let us know. Yes.
Kevin, we have our first question.
All right, suck it to me.
All right. Sheila Richardson says, hey, Kevin, what did people do 100 years ago without glasses? Glasses, of course, meaning the solar viewing glasses.
Okay, well, what they did is, first of all, hopefully they didn't look at the sun.
I hope not.
Yeah, because we didn't have the solar viewing glasses like we have today, these nice little glasses here. What people did 100 years ago or so, they would actually make their own little viewer if they knew the eclipse was even coming, because we didn't always have this kind of an impact as far as being able to let you know when the eclipse was going to be and so on. So in some cases it caught people by surprise, unless they read the Old Farmer's Almanac. And if they read the Old Farmer's Almanac, they were able to tell when a solar eclipse was coming. You can look at the eclipse indirectly through the leaves of a tree on the ground, and you'll see the little fluttering leaves, but you'll also see the image of the solar eclipse. Now, before we get into the actual first contact as the moon bites into the sun, I want to show you a picture of the sun. We took this just a few moments ago, and what we've seen through our solar filter on one of our cameras is sunspots. There are 3 visible sunspots on the sun. And sunspots are like storms on the sun. Yeah. And so actually the sun has been very, very quiet. Sometimes there are many, many sunspots. Sometimes there are very few. In some cases, some people believe, and some studies show, that the fewer sunspots that are on the sun, the cooler the Earth tends to be. And we seem to be going into a quiet period as far as the sun goes, when we can expect fewer sunspots on the sun. Right now there are 3, and we'll see how that works out. Right, Greg?
That's right.
Okay.
And you know, our very capable engineer, Les Garrett, has managed to create a solar filter for our camera to view some of those solar spots. I thought you could only see them through these telescopes with the special filters, but lo and behold, our very own TV camera with the right fitting can show those sunspots, and I thought that was just so cool.
That's right. And I also want to welcome all of our Heartland Media affiliates all across the United States who are picking up this very special web feed. And of course, if you're watching on one of our affiliates through the web stream, we also encourage you can get in touch with me at Kevin Orpert at the Facebook page, and we'll be answering your questions throughout the course of the afternoon.
Another question for you, Kevin.
Okay.
This one comes from Tori Rivera Gutierrez. Can I see through a dark window tint? I'm assuming she means the partial solar eclipse.
No, Tori, you cannot. I think I know what she means. Sometimes windows are tinted in households or even cars. No, you may not. The only way to safely view a solar eclipse is with these special glasses or your homemade solar viewer. And here in a little while, I'll show you a solar viewer and some of the things that we've done to actually make these. You can make them with a shoebox or a big box or a couple of paper plates. And so we'll be showing you how to do that coming up, because if you haven't gotten your glasses yet, in most places, you're out of luck. Even though in downtown Carbondale a little while ago, there was a fellow giving them away.
He's wearing a bright tinfoil hat.
Yeah,
Really,
yeah, he had the tinfoil hat on. But for the most part, this is a party atmosphere. Yeah. And here in Carbondale, Saluki Stadium with Southern Illinois University is just down the road from us. And they have a big party going on. And as I understand, Greg, I believe that Ozzy Osbourne is doing a concert there. Are you aware of that?
That's what I've heard. Yep.
Yeah.
Just north of here, I think.
Yeah.
Ozzy?
Yeah.
Not really. I'll stay. But,
okay.
But Ozzy.
Yeah.
Ozzy, Kevin.
It is Ozzy. It is a hot day here in Carbondale. I have a few clouds now beginning to develop, but for the most part, what we believe is going to happen is we will have enough of a clear sky for us to very easily view the total solar eclipse.
Yeah, I think we'll have that clear sky. The one concern I've had, and this is for our Wabash Valley viewers back home, is that in the heat of the day, you hit the right air temperature, and you'll just get clouds just erupting out of a clear sky. It's called the convective temperature if you want to get nerdy about it, but it looks like we could hit that in spots.
All right. I'm going to check with our astronomer, James, and how are we doing on first contact, James?
Any minute now.
Any minute now.
Okay.
The surface of the sun,
okay.
edges, where the moon will bite.
Okay, he's talking, you can't hear him, so
I'm going to head over to James.
Okay, yeah, you go over to James, and a couple of things I want to mention is that this is the first solar eclipse to span the entire United States since 1918. And so that makes this very special. Since 1918, no one across the United States has seen a total eclipse. Now, there have been total eclipses, Greg, as we get across the United States. One happened in 1979 in the northwestern part of the United States, and that included Washington State, Oregon, Idaho, Montana, and parts of North Dakota. So they were able to see it then. But most of the rest of us did not see that total eclipse.
And that's the one that...
First contact. We have first contact.
We have first contact.
Okay, let's show...
Yep, we can see it right there. James, go ahead, take it away.
What we're looking at here, and I'm going to move the telescope around just a little bit, you start to see a little nibble of the moon's surface. And if we hold that very still, you can actually see that it's a little rough. That tells me there are mountains on the moon. The Apollo missions were correct. We have begun. This began, I believe, at 11:53 Central Daylight Time. And so 89 minutes from now, the lunar shadow will cover us all.
And those rough surfaces on the edge of the moon, they can lead to like a diamond-like shape and appearance later on. Is that right?
Yes, they can. We'll have something called Bailey beads. Bailey's beads are sunlight passing through the canyons on the mountains of the moon. And we'll see those coming in and going out of the eclipse. We'll also see a lovely effect called the diamond ring, which is an artifact of the cusps of sunlight coming together. But yes, we have begun.
So, James, have you ever seen a total solar eclipse before?
No, the last one I saw was an annular, which we broadcast on WTHI-TV back in 1994. Kevin and I had a wonderful time doing it. It was 6 minutes long, and I actually broadcast from Sandcut, which is north of Terre Haute.
Okay, so about how many solar eclipses have you seen in your lifetime?
Well, I've seen two annulars, one in 73 and one in 94. I have never seen a total. This will be my first.
All right, I'm really looking forward to it, too.
You can really get a look now at the moon's biting into it. It's nibbling away quite well.
And just a reminder at this point, you need to be wearing those ISO-certified solar viewing glasses if you're taking a look. You don't want to risk blindness.
Absolutely. In fact, I'd like to turn this over to Les now to give us a full sun view, if you would, please. Give us a full sun view, and we'll...
Take it away, Les.
No, we're asking our engineer, give us a full sun view from Les's camera, please. And there it is.
Oh, wow.
Yep. So it begins.
All right. Looks like Kevin has some people he wants to talk to.
I do, Matt. And I met you earlier, and your name is?
Oliver.
Oliver. And is this your big brother?
I'm Brandon. I'm the dad.
Oh, okay, Brandon. And I remember Eve. How are you today?
Good.
Okay. You guys came from Indianapolis, is that right? Okay. And I saw you just a few moments ago. You were looking at the sun with your special glasses. And what did you see? What did you see the moon start to move into the sun?
There was a little nibble in the sun, yes.
Okay, good. And this is very exciting because how old are you?
9.
Okay, you had to think about that for a moment, didn't you? And Eve, how old are you?
6.
Okay, you see, you guys, and Dad, this is the first total solar eclipse across the United States in 99 years. So the last one was in 1918. And it's going to be a while before another one comes. It's not going to go across the entire United States, but it will go across a portion of the United States from about Texas all the way up to about Maine. That'll be in the year 2024. And so that's coming up. So I'm going to check back in with you guys every once in a while.
Sounds good.
So you can give me a report from you're sort of a junior reporter for me, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. You're very polite, and you guys go back and get in the shade or whatever.
We will.
Okay, thank
you
you.
very
I'll
much.
check back in with you here in just a little bit. Folks, it's really, really hot here in Carbondale, though we have just a few cumulus clouds out there, a few little puffy cumulus clouds. At this point, it seems to me, I'm a meteorologist, it seems to me that we will still have a good view of the sun once we move into totality, and we'll hopefully be able to show you that because, once again, Carbondale, Illinois is a place where at least 500,000 people are descending. There are lots of things going on downtown. We did some interviews earlier, and we're going to be showing you those. We met some people from Algeria. We've talked with some people from India and also some people from France. And so we have quite a lot of information to bring you, interviews as well. So, Scott, if we can go back to that shot of the sun, perhaps that Les has, and I'm going to move back over to our broadcast and web stream table.
All right, thank you for that, Kevin. And, of course, as a reminder, make sure you are wearing those ISO-certified solar safety glasses. They should be marked ISO 12312-2. If they're anything other than that, they're likely not real. Now let's go ahead and take things back over to the desk.
All right, thank you, Matt. I mentioned our Heartland Media affiliates, our stations, and their web streams, which are joining us. I want to say hello and give a shout out to KDRV, KEZI, WKTV, WTVA, KHSL, WTHI, WLFI, WFFT, KIMT, KQTV, and WAAY. All of those affiliates will be joining us at one point or another as we continue this web stream. Matt, do we have any questions?
I'm about to look at that right now.
All right.
Before we went to the start of the eclipse, you were talking about when the last one was, and
right.
It seems as you look back through time that the dates don't always mix up. And one of the questions that one of my students asked was, why doesn't an eclipse happen every year? And that is, I believe, because the moon doesn't go around in the same plane that the Earth is orbiting and going around the sun. It's tilted about 5 degrees,
right.
correct? Which means that it sort of spans over a different part of the Earth as it goes through its cycle.
Yeah, that's true. Confirmation with James, is that correct?
Absolutely. In fact, we will have another total solar eclipse passing over this very area 7 years from now, and that is a direct result of that 5-degree inclination of the plane.
All right, and I also been doing my research for this. For a single spot. Now, this is a bit of an exception in 2024, but typically for a single spot to have a total solar eclipse, to experience it at one particular place, and even in 2024, the totality center will be a little bit different than it is this year. It takes 357 years or something like that for it to come back to the same spot, if even then.
Yes, think of it as a giant spirograph.
Okay.
That's the best analogy I can give. You got an elliptical orbit that's not perfectly circular and inclined 5 degrees. And so, yeah, about 357 years is just about how long it takes to more or less duplicate the same spot. You'll get an eclipse. And yet we only have to wait 7 years.
All right, very good. Now, Matt, do we have any questions courtesy of Facebook?
We do. Riley Booth says, how will animals react to the eclipse?
Well, that's a very good question. I have some info. I have a whole big thick binder here of a lot of information.
He does, folks. I can see it.
And one of the things is that animals can be expected to behave somewhat strangely. The thing about it is that because of a lack of real serious studies as far as solar eclipses go, we don't have a tremendous amount of information. But in 2015, there was a solar eclipse. The chickens thought it was nighttime. We have something here that was, let me see what else. Doug Duncan, director of the Fisk Planetarium, had a few strange run-ins with animals over his many years of the eclipse chasing. He saw a line of llamas gathered together to see a total eclipse with him in Bolivia.
Llamas?
Yeah. So how about that? Certain stimuli can overrule normal behavior without affecting an animal's daily physiological rhythms, but people who study the circadian rhythms say it's not surprising that the eclipse will temporarily affect animal behavior, but it's unlikely that their internal clock or their behavior in the long run will be affected. Though I've heard stories, and I've had some information, people contact with me with the possibility of bats coming out, of crickets begin to chirp.
I've heard that one too.
And certain other animals thinking it's about time to come out. Chickens roosting and so on. Now, one thing that I do want to mention to you, and we can get back to animals' behavior, but Purdue University has this. They want you along the line of totality. Purdue University wants you to record sounds of animals when totality hits your area. And you can contact Purdue University and contact a fellow named Brian Wallheimer. That's Wallheimer. And it's BWALLHEI at purdue.edu. You can contact him. Also, for more information about this research, www.soundsoftheeclipse.org. It'll be interesting to see how this unfolds.
You know, I've heard of like bees returning back to their hive during an eclipse where everybody, all the animals just kind of get confused because twilight just happens in the middle of the day.
Right.
For those that have what might be called circadian rhythms, you know, it's probably not as pronounced. I would suspect that bats would probably be fine. I mean, I'm not quite certain for sure, but if I were betting,
you're betting on the bats?
I'm betting on the bats not being affected.
Okay, well, we'll see, because we're here in Carbondale and in a somewhat residential area.
Yeah.
But I also want to say thank you to Ambassador Housing. They're providing us a really wonderful place for us to view this total eclipse, right, James?
Oh, yes. I'd like to take a minute just to talk about the very item we're looking at, the sun.
Okay.
In fact, it's the sun that we're here baking as we are. In the heat
yes.
of the day.
It is hot.
You see, the sun is the center of our solar system. Of course, for the longest time, we thought that the Earth was the center of the solar system. Galileo himself declared that the sun was the center. And the sun itself, at its center, will reach about 15 million degrees. It feels almost that hot here today, I must confess. When you take the sun and all the heat and energy that it puts out in all the wavelengths, it mixes all the colors together so that it looks white to our eyes. But in fact, it's defined as a yellow star, in that yellow is the predominant wavelength of light that comes out of it. It is mostly hydrogen, about 70%, and about 28% helium. And it's that material, especially the hydrogen, that is fusing together in the center to form the heat and released energy that comes to us. In fact, it takes roughly, and I want to make sure I get this correctly here, it takes, let me see here, 8 minutes and 20 seconds for the light from the sun to reach us. So if something was to happen to the sun, we wouldn't know it for almost 9 minutes.
All right, well, let me ask you this, because with that in mind, James, how does that correlate with the moon blocking the sun's light? Is the moon, are we seeing the moon 8 minutes later? Is that how that works, or how does that light affect the arrival of light?
Well, the moon is only about 224,000 miles away.
Okay.
It took us a couple of days to get there by the Apollo missions. So roughly 3/4 of a second light travel time. So we're really not losing anything. You know, we're losing 3/4 of a second when the moon passes over that. And so it doesn't have any effect other than it creates what's going to be the most incredible show I think we will have ever seen.
Okay, but the light of the sun is still taking about 8 minutes to get here.
That's right. And the gravity doesn't affect. In fact, light is not affected by gravity other than super strong gravity around a black hole. Now, the sun itself, it's roughly 4.6 billion years old. And in another 5 billion years or so, it will start to fade away and die out. It will not become a black hole, though. It will simply shrink down to what we call a brown dwarf. It'll get very cool, at least by our standards. Instead of 15 million degrees, maybe 1 million degrees. So it's going to really cool down.
Get your coats ready, right?
You know it.
All right.
Now, the sun itself is actually 109 times wider than the Earth and 330,000 times as massive, which means that I could fit 1 million Earths inside a hollow sun. 1 million Earths in that big ball of gas up there, if it was hollow.
Okay, and thank you. Something very interesting, and Greg, maybe you can elaborate this. I don't want to put you exactly on the point, or maybe you can too, Matt.
Okay.
I have it here somewhere. It was during a total solar eclipse in the 1800s that the gas helium, the element helium, was discovered. Are you aware of that?
No.
Okay.
I've heard of things like that.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not an expert in the topic, but from the way light from stars passes through certain gases, like it changes in such a way that allows scientists, astronomers, to analyze it,
Yes.
to make new discoveries, such as helium.
I have this here somewhere, and I'll find it here in a little bit, folks, but here's a little bit of interesting information. Because helium was discovered during a total solar eclipse, the word helium is named after the sun, after the sun god Helios. And consequently, we get the term helium because of the solar eclipse. And when it was discovered, I want to say in about 1868. I think it was 1868 or thereabouts.
Okay, yeah, that seems to be on the up and up to me.
Okay, well, thanks. Questions? Do we have any questions so far?
Yeah, I've been looking on Facebook. It's been quiet so far as any
Okay.
additional questions, but I'm going to take another look here.
You were talking about the times, again, going back to times, and
Yeah.
another one the students want to know when the earliest documented eclipse, total eclipse, was. And I know we've been talking about them and seeing them for years. How long have we really been studying them, I guess, is maybe the question.
Studying them, James, what do you think? I have the date for that, and I'm going to find. I know it was the Irish. It was recorded by the Irish. But how long have we been studying this from a scientific standpoint?
Well, Galileo was the first person to ever point a telescope at the sun. He didn't have a filter on it, and how he didn't go blind, no one knows. But he first noticed sunspots.
Okay.
And you mentioned those earlier. We have 3 on the sun today.
Right.
And those are indeed storms. They're developed through magnetic field interactions, and they're actually cool spots on the sun. Again, where the surface of the sun might be 2 million degrees, these spots are 1.5 million degrees. And because of that change in temperature, they appear dark. But we've been studying the sun since about the 1620s or so, when Galileo first looked up and saw spots.
Okay.
And he actually drew them out. And it's amazing. Again, he didn't have a filter on the sun. He certainly didn't have these cool glasses we have. And how he didn't go blind, I do not know. I guess he was blessed.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And here in a couple of minutes, what I'm going to do is we're talking about viewing safely. And Greg, you brought a colander with you. I mean, from your kitchen, is that?
I brought a couple different items. You can make these pinhole viewers that we've talked about, or you can just use the paper plates and poke the holes, but virtually anything that has a nice, concise circle in it. So let's see. A colander like this.
All right.
That the sun can shine through. one of these little collapsible ones, perhaps. And I also brought a spatula. So anything lying around your house that might have circles, nice, concise circles. You don't want something that's going to be ragged on the edge. And when you hold that up and let the sun shine through it, it is going to project
You'll actually get a
the
picture,
eclipse.
a view that looks very much like this.
Okay, that's you got to get closer to the camera on that, and we'll get somebody to operate the camera. Matt, you
All
want
right,
to
I'll
swing
jump
around?
up there.
Yeah.
Oh, Kevin, I have that date you were looking for.
Oh, yeah. Okay, thank you. We can talk about this, Greg, here. In 1999, an Irish archaeoastronomer, a guy named Paul Griffin, investigated a monument in Ireland, and he discovered carved in the stone a spiral-shaped petroglyphs, which indicated the orbits of the moon and the Earth around the sun, presumably. And so the first officially recorded documentation of a total solar eclipse goes all the way back to November 30th, the year 3340 BC. A long time ago.
That is a very long time ago. And and the fact that they were able to document that and know that something different was going on, because it's not something that happened periodically on a regular basis and just out of the blue with not knowing beforehand, all of a sudden the sky goes dark. So I'm sure they were
It was
probably
terrifying.
frightened. Yes.
It was absolutely terrifying for our ancestors. And in not such a different, not so long ago, right?
Right.
And so we asked about the eclipses 100 years ago. Again, it must have been very scary to people who didn't quite know what was going on. And sometimes these eclipses, and we can get into this further as we go through the afternoon, these eclipses, two schools of thought go with total solar eclipses. The first one is that it spells doom, that horrible things will happen, the fall of empires, and so on. And the other one is just the opposite. It expressed joy and rebirth and renewal.
Kevin, I could use a little joy with this eclipse.
Yeah, me too. And we're here, boy, there are helicopters flying over. This is really quite something.
It's a hot spot.
I'll tell you what, the helicopters will get a great view of the shadow as it approaches, because they will be above and can see from a greater distance than we can here on the ground. They will actually see the shadow approaching us.
And that shadow will be moving how fast?
About 1,400 miles an hour.
Here in Carbondale, it'll be going at about 1,400 miles per hour, a little bit more than that. When the shadow first got into the northwest up in Oregon, it was moving at more than 2,000 miles per hour. And then it slows down a little bit as it gets here in the middle part of the country. When it goes across Carbondale here, it'll be traveling at about a little more than 1,400 miles per hour. But when the shadow then gets to the East Coast down around South Carolina, it'll speed up a little bit again and be traveling at not quite 1,600 miles per hour, but it'll be very close to that.
Yes, it will, and it will definitely be moving. I'm looking forward to when it makes its pass by here.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what. You want to get back over to your telescope?
Yeah, let's get a look, Sam.
Okay, and Matt, you talk, and I'm going to come over here and talk with James and see if we can figure out what's...
All right, Kevin, James, have at it. I'm going to dive into a little bit of what cultures believe the sun and moon and eclipses were all about. First off, I'm going to start with the Norse. They believed the sun and the moon were siblings that raced in chariots across the sky, running away from two wolves. It's the belief, the Norse belief, that when these wolves caught up to the sun and the moon, they would devour them, and so would begin the Norse apocalypse, also called Ragnarok. You ever heard of Ragnarok?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, so familiar with that legend. This one, not so far removed. These people, Navajo Indians, said to still avoid the unnatural darkness of a solar eclipse. They will not eat, sleep, or do any activity until the eclipse ends, and they will go inside. It's just a strong belief that illness can overtake them during a solar eclipse. So I find that particularly fascinating.
And this is a current belief.
Yeah, this is a current belief in the American Southwest. There are schools that are closed today because of so many people who practice the Navajo beliefs. Another one that's... Kevin?
Yeah, I just want to... you're a great storyteller, and I'll be back with you in a second, Matt. But, James, we're looking through your Celestron telescope, and I see, at least to my point of view, a little bit of a jagged edge to the moon. Is that right?
Absolutely. The moon is covered with mountains and valleys, and we're seeing evidence of that right now. And in fact, when totality approaches, Bailey's beads will be a direct result of these mountains and chasms that we're seeing on the moon. I can see right there. Looks like a real rough, jagged surface right about there.
Okay, I'm getting a little seasick. Is that because the moon or sun is moving, or is that because Earth is moving?
Well, the Earth is moving, the sun is moving, and the moon is moving. We're all moving at slightly different speeds, and it does cause kind of a seasick effect.
Okay, and we also see up there from our other camera, Les Garrett, the engineer on site, also operating that camera we have with a solar filter. You can see a very clear image of the moon now moving into the sun. It was a sight like this that must have, years ago, caused people, as Matt was talking about, to believe that something was eating away at the sun. And Matt, I believe you mentioned that, some of the legends or some of the ancient thought about how the sun was being eaten by the moon. Is that right?
Yeah, there are some beliefs, in fact, many cultures that shared beliefs that something was eating the sun or eating the moon. However, not all cultures believe that. The Inuit believed that the moon god and the sun god were a brother and sister. They believed that the moon and the sun were deities, and the moon would chase his sister. And this also explained to them in their culture lunar cycles. The moon would forget to eat as he's chasing the sister. I find that kind of fascinating, Greg. I don't know about you. Yeah, he forgets to eat. He gets a little skinny every once in a while. Lunar cycles, right?
Right.
The eclipse, as you might suspect, happens when that brother moon catches up to the sister sun. So just kind of a playful mythos with that one.
All right. Greg, we have any other questions? You have students there in middle school, 7th grade, is that right?
8th grade.
8th grade.
8th grade. I do have a question here, and I think it lends itself to a little bit of cautionary as well. This student wanted to know what equipment you would need to take a picture of it.
All right. You would need, first of all, don't use your camera. Right. I don't believe that, and I think James can address this, I don't believe you want to use your camera directly or even your cell phone. Somebody asked if they could use, what they could use to take a picture of this.
Well, I will be using an old Pentax camera, the standard, 35 millimeter camera with analog film. I'm still a fan of analog film, but digital cameras nowadays have gotten very advanced, and you can set the shutter speed low enough to where you can capture it. Now, any camera will get it at totality because it's going to be dark. We're looking at kind of a deep twilight, and if you can get a camera that can take pictures in that low a light, you might be able to get something with a digital camera or with an analog camera. But I certainly wouldn't use the phone. The only thing you'll happen is you'll lose your phone. It'll burn up the optics. You won't be able to take pictures anymore. Might even fry the electronics. Just to be on the safe side, do not use your phone. That's a Facebook legend that's been going around for a couple of weeks now, and one that we've been trying to put down because nobody wants to lose their phone.
No, that's true. And besides trying to spot it through your phone, you're going to hurt your eyes.
Oh, yes. Not only will you hurt your eyes, but you'll waste so much time trying to get the perfect picture, you'll miss the eclipse.
That's one thing I want to point out. I was listening to an interview with a fellow who is an astronomer, and he's going to be down near Louisville, actually Hopkinsville, Kentucky. And he was saying that he was going to have everything all set up, and he was going to view it very much as we are. But when it gets to totality, he's going to stop. He said, I'm not going to fiddle around with my camera. I'm not going to do anything that's going to distract from me missing the eclipse. And we do want to emphasize that when this goes total, or in some cases, if you're not in totality, almost total. I mean, there will be no doubt that something is going on with the sun. You don't want to miss it. This is something that is meant to be enjoyed safely with your own two eyes, and it's something that, honestly, I believe will have a profound impact on us as humans.
And the totality is a very brief window of time where, yeah, you could take a picture with your camera if it's covered up 100%, the sun. But I feel like you'd miss out on so much more. You get just a very brief window to enjoy it. Why waste it on taking a selfie? It's not going to have the same impact when you look at it later.
Yeah, I think that anybody who's ever tried to take just a picture of a nice, pretty moon, or even like the supermoon that we had that looked huge in the sky, you take the picture and then you look at it, and it's not very impressive whatsoever. The moon still looks tiny in that picture. So I think that, just unless you are an avid photographer and it has been your lifelong dream to capture that perfect image of the eclipse with your telephoto lens and all the filters, just sit back and enjoy it. I know there's lots of things in my life I look back on and I wish I would not have witnessed them through a lens, but would have just experienced them. And I think this is one of those things that you just need to experience. And tomorrow there's going to be an awful lot of professional pictures online that you can look at, and then you can remember what you saw and not what you saw through a lens.
Yeah. Leave it to the professionals, right?
Well, I'm somewhat of a professional. I'm going to try and get a couple of shots, but I'm only going to devote about 15, 20 seconds to it. I, too, want to enjoy it.
And I'm going to look at them tomorrow.
Yes, you will.
Yeah, we'll look at, okay.
We'll check them out later.
All right. How about other questions, Greg? We have anything? And you, Matt, check that, if you would, please.
I'll check Facebook
when
now.
The total darkness happens, so here in totality, will we be able to see the stars?
Yes. What are we going to see?
Well, we have a number of planets and a couple of stars that'll come out when totality hits, and you're looking up at it. To the right, the brightest object will be Venus. And very close to the sun will be Mars to the right of it. If you look just to the upper 9 o'clock position of the totally eclipsed sun, you'll see the star Regulus. And then off to the lower left is Mercury. Very few people have seen Mercury. Here's your chance now to see the most elusive of all planets. And then just off to the far left will be Jupiter. And so those are the four major planets we'll be seeing. And we might even see Nibiru, I believe it was you called it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, you ready for a story?
Okay.
All right, here we go. You ready for this one?
All right, go for it.
Okay. Conspiracy theorists, people who are into this kind of thing. There's an author named Zecharia Sitchin. Are you familiar with Zecharia Sitchin?
Never heard of him.
Okay. Zecharia Sitchin has written a series of books, one of them called The 10th Planet, and there are some others that he wrote. And the whole precept, the whole context of Zecharia Sitchin's belief is that there is a 10th planet, a planet which he called Nibiru. And he gets this information, supposedly, from ancient cuneiform texts, or actually clay impressions. And so he reads this, and he says that when Nibiru, which has a very long orbit around the sun, and every many thousands of years actually comes close to Earth. And when this planet gets close to Earth, the inhabitants of Nibiru come to planet Earth, and, for example, his belief is that they were responsible for fiddling with our DNA and causing us to become what we are. One reference is that the inhabitants of Nibiru are the Anunnaki, or the giants of Genesis 6. See? And so that's just kind of an interesting thing. At any rate, Nibiru is supposedly behind the sun. And the belief is, or the thinking is, that as the sun goes into totality, we will be able to catch a glimpse of this 10th planet actually approaching us. And we need to prepare for the giants, the Anunnaki, to return to Earth and do whatever they're going to do with us.
Kevin, that's some pretty cosmic stuff.
It is. Zecharia Sitchin. Look it up. It's really quite fascinating. I'm not so sure I believe it. I don't think so. I do know that several years ago, and I don't remember the date exactly, there was a total eclipse, and people were viewing it in Mexico City. And in Mexico City, it went dark, and they believed that they saw flying saucers darting around in the sky.
No kidding.
Yeah. Some people think, well, no, that was probably Venus or some of the other planets that James was talking about. But there are some people it would be very difficult to convince them those weren't flying saucers hovering around Earth when the sun went into the total eclipse.
But that's what's great about this is, you know, since it doesn't happen so frequently, there's always something new to see that we question. And then that leads us into asking questions and discovering new things and seeing what's going on.
Yes, it is. Now, I see some people up there. I'm going to go see if I can grab them for an interview. You guys talk, and I'll be right back, okay?
Sounds good.
All right.
Greg, I really want to use that colander of yours.
Absolutely.
It's really, I find it fascinating. Probably won't be able to move right now, but you can see this. This is just a spatula, and these are things you can find around the kitchen.
Absolutely.
You can scatter the light from the solar eclipse, and you can do it safely on any surface. What do you call it, dappling?
Dappling, and you know the great thing about this is in order to do it, you've kind of got to be with your back towards the sun in order to catch the image, so you know you're perfectly safe because you're looking away from the sun instead of towards it.
Now, if I don't have any of these kitchen appliances, would plants scatter this light in a similar fashion?
Yes, you can notice the same sort of effect just through the trees, the leaves in a tree or other things. Microphone.
Oh, yes. They do. The leaves on the trees, the gaps between them will act as pinhole projectors. I'll tell you what, one of the wonderful things about these colanders, you know, we can use them to create pinhole projectors. But afterwards, when you're done and your brain's been totally fried, you can strain your brain and maybe get some of the madness out of it.
Got to have fun during these solar eclipses whenever you can.
That's the great thing about this is.
Oh, yeah, it does kind of look like we're seeing a little cloud cover here.
Well, and you know what? If you look at the direction they're moving at, it's going to be gone in just a moment, and we'll be back to frying.
All right. Well, I'm going to try this colander. Kevin is coming back, and it looks like he has some folks over there.
So
we're going to get that interview
we need to get
first.
the camera over there.
Yeah, of course we'll need to get the camera over there.
There you go.
Let's see if we can get a look at the sky, if we have any feed of that. Can we bring that up?
Come on over, you guys.
Yeah, go ahead. Show that cloud. Show people what we're seeing. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at that. All right, Kevin, you have some, looks like some lovely folks with you there. A big tall guy.
Yeah, I do. I saw these guys walking past because we're at a place where I can see people walking down the sidewalk and so on. I happen to see you guys, and I thought I'd wave you over. What's your name?
Mason.
Mason. Where are you from, Mason?
I'm from Carbondale.
Born and bred?
Oh, no. Little suburb called Warrenville out of Chicago.
Oh, okay. I talked to some Chicago people a little while ago. Now, you have some other guys over there. Are they camera shy?
A little bit camera shy, yeah.
Okay. So, are you here to watch the eclipse, or are you just walking around?
We're here to see the eclipse. We actually got a pair of glasses from Makanda. Shout out to Makanda here in good old Southern Illinois.
Okay.
But yeah, we're going to go down to the tents down by the strip and watch the eclipse with everybody else.
All right. Well, thanks for stopping by. I'll let you go. I was just down there a little while ago. There are a lot of cool things. There's a misting tent, so they're spraying water on you because it's pretty hot out here.
Well, good. We're going to get our mist on then.
Okay, thanks, Mason. I appreciate it, bud.
Thank you so much.
All right, take it easy. Now, this is what's going on here in Carbondale. A lot of people here, especially downtown. Now, one of the things I want to show you is one of the interviews we did a little while ago, and I'm not sure which one we can do. Scott, do you have an interview all ready for us? Which one you want to do? From Chicago. I was downtown a little while ago, ran into some guys from Chicago, and this is how it went. Well, here I found some guys sitting in the shade. What's your name, man?
My name is Dan.
Dan the man, right?
That's it.
Okay, you have a camera here. Are you going to take a picture of the eclipse?
No.
Okay, good.
I'm not, but because I don't want to ruin my camera. And it's not a good idea to point your camera at the sun.
That's true. And you're from Joliet, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. When did you come down? Did you come down this morning?
Yesterday. Yesterday morning.
Did you find a place to stay?
No, we had a place. We had it all set it up.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, good. I like your shirt, by the way.
Well, it's a tie-dye eclipse. See, it's just black and white. It's just before total eclipse. I have a black shirt I'll wear for that.
Okay, well, I've got a dark shirt on. Look, I'm starting to sweat already. I may have to change shirts here. I'm going to talk to you. Is this your buddy here?
Yes.
Okay. All right. What's your name?
Patrick.
And where are you from? Chicago.
Chicago,
right?
Southwest side.
Okay. Cubs or
Sox.
Oh man. Okay, this interview is finished. No, I'm just kidding.
So we're there for the year.
Oh, the Sox?
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. Okay, so you've got a great shirt on here.
Thanks. Got it here, actually.
All right. Is this your first solar eclipse?
No, 79. I made the little pinhole camera that made the shadow on the ground and was very unimpressed. And they said keep it back to the eclipse. And yeah, so that was my previous experience.
Okay. Do you have glasses?
I got everybody's glasses.
Oh, okay.
I'll take a pair.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you have glasses?
My dad let. I'll take a pair.
No. I'm just going to try to sell these to you. It's like $40. What do you think?
Okay, sounds
All right,
good.
in another hour it'll be 50. All right, thanks you guys. I think you're going to have great fun here, and this will be on. This actually is on WTHI-TV.com. We're out in Terre Haute, Indiana,
Woo.
and also doing a web stream across the United States. So just say hi.
You'd have to. Hey, USA.
What?
If you started in Oregon, you'd have to go Mach 1.5 to be here right now.
Yeah, that's true. All right. Hey, thanks you guys. Enjoy your view. Okay.
Yeah, thanks. Take care.
All right, welcome back, everybody. So I was downtown a little while ago and ran into those guys, and they're a lot of fun. We have a lot of fun interviews to do here, and I think I see somebody I'm going to talk to here in a minute. But, James, you have something to show us.
Well, we are not the only ones that are going to get a spectacular view of the eclipse. The International Space Station astronauts are probably going to get one of the best views of all, only from above. And this is pretty much what they're going to see. Now, you'll notice the shadow is not real sharp. It's sort of fuzzy on the edges, and that's because Earth's atmosphere will spread out some of that shadowy feature. But they're going to get a great view. I almost wish I could be up there with them. But I'm glad I'm here with you.
All right, thank you. Matt, let's take the...
Walk it on over?
Yeah, let's walk it on over here. I want to talk to you folks. See, one of the things about this is a social event, really. Not only is it an astronomical and science event, it's a social event. So come on over here, you folks. Come on over here. I want to talk to you. I love talking to youngsters and people. Oh, aren't you? I'm going to get right down here. Come on over here and look right there. What's your name?
Say Melody.
Melody? Okay, you're kind of shy, aren't you? Yeah. All right, so Melody, I'll try this guy. What's your name?
Colton.
Colton, look right there and say hi to everybody.
Hi.
Now, you're here to view the eclipse, is that right? All right. Did you know that the sky's going to get dark?
Yeah.
All right. Is that going to be scary? Are you going to be scared? All right. Good. All right, good.
No.
No? No. Okay, good. Well, do you know why the sky gets dark?
Why?
Well, I was asking you.
For.
Okay. You know? Okay, this guy knows. All right. Why does the sky get dark?
The moon overlaps the sun.
Yeah, it does. And do you think that'll be pretty cool to see?
Yeah.
Do you have animals where you live?
Yeah.
Okay, because they might get a little crazy, you know that? How about you? Do you think you might get a little crazy?
No.
Okay, all right. Well, and what's your name?
Gabe.
Gabe? Where are you from, Gabe?
Royalton.
Where is that? Is that in Illinois? Okay, good. Oh, who's this? I want to talk to this person here. What's your name?
Harmony.
Harmony. Oh, I love that name. It's a beautiful name. And so, where are you from, Harmony?
Mom.
Royalton, but we're from Louisiana.
Louisiana?
Yes, sir.
Did you drive all the way up here?
Oh, well, I mean, I did, but not about 2 weeks ago I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did you, oh, tell me what you see. You just look through that. Tell me what you see.
I see that the sun is turning into the moon, and it's like a cheese stick.
Yeah, it is. Like a what?
Cheese shape or a crescent.
Oh, yeah, cheese shape. I get it. Yeah, what a great, well, I love you kids. I love you kids. And,
It looks like a half moon.
yeah, it does. Oh, here's one guy I didn't talk with. Come on, look right over here. Now, here, you move right over here. Okay, what's your name?
Easton.
That is exactly right. And are you with these people here? Mm-hmm. Okay. Have you looked at the sun through those glasses? Okay. And you know it's going to get dark too, right? Okay. Just for a little bit. Only for about 2.5 minutes.
You got it?
All right? Okay. Well, listen, I'll let you guys go and let you watch the eclipse as it progresses. But thanks for stopping by here with us at Ambassador Housing. I appreciate that. Yeah, all right? All right. Thank you. You can just head right over that way. Now let's take a look at what Les has. Les, there is that's a beautiful shot. That is a beautiful shot there. And so here, let's take a look here And James, you're looking up, and what are you seeing? I mean, I see what you're seeing, but...
I see a crescent sun, and it's beautiful, absolutely beautiful.
Okay. All right, good. We have Greg over here. Greg brought his, what do you call them? His colander. Yeah, his colander, but his little demonstration things here. And Matt is running the camera, and I think, Matt, we're going to probably want to shoot down here. But Greg, step over here in the sun.
Right, so what we just found as we did a little bit of experimenting here ourselves is that the smaller the hole, the better that it projects what's going on with the sun. We tried one with that spatula that we showed up a little bit earlier, and we didn't quite see as well. Now, Matt, where can I hold this? Can you get underneath there? And you can see down in there. Can you see it, Matt? Or mind your way. What you see is, I don't know if you can there, but here anyway, you see the circle of light, and then on the side you can see just the moon starting to make in on one side. And it is also going to be a reverse image of what's going on. Were you able to get it on camera?
It doesn't look like it's showing up.
Okay.
Yeah, not showing up really, really well. But that, folks at home, you can do that, and that'll give you a very good indication about what's going on. Now, Greg, I made this. You can, you know how to run that?
Which one do you let me take?
Here, you just take both of these, see, and we'll do it like, oh, that'll work, that'll work. Matt, you're going to want to get a really good shot of this. By the way, questions at my Facebook page, Kevin Orpert, Facebook. Send in your questions, and we will interact with you. If you're watching at school or if you're watching at one of your Eclipse parties or something like that, let me know. We'll give a shout-out to you at all of our Heartland media outlets. I want to hear from you, too, so we can tell everybody that you're watching and seeing what's happening here in Carbondale, Illinois. All right. Now, let's see. Oh, there you go, right there. Now, oh, that's a very good shot of that because you can see it's not a complete circle of the sun. You can actually see the sun and the moon taking a little bite out of the sun. And all we did was have two paper plates. One paper plate has a little pinhole punched in it right there. And the other paper plate we just use as a projection screen. So once again, there it is right there. And you can see, oh, that's good. Hold it right like that, Greg. See that, Matt? Yeah, and that's what you can see at home if you just use your a couple of paper plates with a hole punched in that paper plate. All right, so now I'll go over here to James and see what else we have going on here as far as any kind of information that you want to give out, because it's now 12:37 here in Illinois. That would be 1:37 in Indiana. Absolutely. And various time zones across the United States where we are being viewed by many of our Heartland affiliates.
Yes, and we've also been joined by my little symbol monkey friend, George. Okay. He wanted to come out and see the eclipse, and I couldn't say no to a monkey with symbols. Who could? I do want to talk, though, that we've talked about the 94 eclipse. And that was an annular eclipse.
Okay.
Now, an annular eclipse is different from a total in one important fact. The moon is slightly farther away from the Earth because of an elliptical orbit. And as such, you don't get total coverage of the sun. There becomes what's known as the ring of fire. And so you don't get the total blackout effect that you would get here in not too long from now. The one in 94 gave a very odd, silvery, almost metallic feel to the surroundings. I remember the animals did come out, and the birds were very noisy about it, but it was very metallic, very silvery. It wasn't like the deep twilight we expect to happen in pure shadow. Okay. This was a ring of fire, and so some sunlight was getting out around the moon and coming to the surface of the Earth, and it was very unique.
Okay, so what you're saying basically is sometimes the moon is closer to Earth, sometimes it's farther away, and the closer the moon is to the Earth, the more likely we are to have a total eclipse.
Absolutely, and that's what's happening this time, is the moon is close enough that it will block out the sun completely.
All right, and by the way, that is called perigee, where it's very close, and that happened on Friday. So the moon now is drifting a little bit farther away from Earth, but still it's close enough for us to get that view of the total eclipse.
Now, I will point out one other fact, one very unique fact. The moon is actually edging away from the Earth about an inch a year, going out farther away in its orbit. So in about roughly 10,000 years or so, we won't have the kind of eclipses we're having today. They'll be very different. They'll be very annular, and they won't look anything like they look today.
So, James, you're telling us at one point we may not see total solar eclipses in our future. They'll become a thing of the past.
Yes, they'll become annular, and so we'll never see the total pure shadow. In fact, thousands of years ago, the total eclipses we got were almost always total, because the moon was a little bit closer and a little bit larger. But now the moon is moving away, again, about an inch a year. And so you add up over 10,000 years, and that's a lot of distance. And before you know it, we'll lose the pure shadow eclipse.
All right. James, I see some people over here. I'm going to let you guys talk a little bit, because they've got some kind of a contraption over here that I want to find out what this is. Maybe, maybe some people at home will be interested in seeing this. Okay?
All right, Kevin,
All
let
right.
me know what you want to do with that. Bring
All
them
right.
over here.
Okay, will do. All right, I'll be right back.
Okay. So, on the way down here to Carbondale, I couldn't help but think of excellent songs to listen to while a solar eclipse is happening. Of course, total eclipse of the heart is probably a big one, everyone's favorite, but I wear my sunglasses at night. That's another one I could get into. And I just want to know, what would you be listening to? What are you listening to right now? Greg, what's on your list?
Well, I think Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star.
Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star?
Yeah.
Okay, James, have at it.
Well, for me, it would be the whole album, Dark Side of the Moon.
Oh, my
by
goodness.
Pink Floyd, and in particular one song, Eclipse.
Eclipse, okay.
Oh, yes.
Can you tell me the last line to that song?
There is no dark side of the moon. It's all dark.
It's all dark, okay. And
Which is a little bit of a misspeak. The only dark part of the moon we'll see is the part facing us.
And do you think at any point, right now somebody might be listening through that album? I've, heard on the internet that, it's a pretty popular thing to do.
It is. It's one of the best-selling albums of all time. It spent, many, many, many years as a #1 bestseller. It's personally one of my favorite albums. Another song I like by the Beatles, Here Comes the Sun.
Oh, that's a
great
good
song
one.
by George Harrison, one of his finest.
Excellent choice. Sir.
Yes.
Greg, I'm going to let you select from one of your questions, and I'm going to get Kevin's crew set up. Looks like we have some people standing by.
All righty. Sounds good. Sounds good.
You have at it.
Sure. We were just talking about sort of the distance fluctuating, the moon's distance from the Earth. And I believe, and you can tell me if these numbers are right, I kind of wrote them down here. I guess at a difference of about 31,000 when you talk about being closer and further away from the sun. I mean, that's a huge difference.
It is
when you think about it.
It is a very huge
by our
difference.
scales, by our scale.
And by astronomical scales, barely the width of a cosmic hair. But for us, that's a big enough a difference that we will see a ring of fire when the moon's farther away and a total when it's closer away. And yes, roughly 31,000 miles is pretty close.
All right. I think Kevin is ready with the contraption.
Yes, please. Take it away, Kevin.
All right, thank you, guys. So you brought your breakfast here, is that correct?
No.
Well, you have a cereal box, right?
Yeah.
Well, why in the world would you bring a cereal box if you're not eating breakfast?
You can see the sun, the eclipse in it.
Well, show me how that works.
Like, if you face this way, you have to have this towards the sun, and then you can see it if you come around here.
Oh.
And then you can see the eclipse happening.
Let me see that. Oh, I see. That's really neat. And so this is very much like our paper plates, but I saw a very, very good view of that. What's your name?
Ivy.
Ivy. And what you didn't want to be on, but what's your name anyway?
Avril.
Avril? Okay. You don't seem too excited, Avril.
No.
Okay, that's all right. Is this Mom here?
Yes.
What's your name?
Jenny.
Jenny? Welcome. And?
Dad Joe.
Dad Joe?
Yep.
All right, Dad Joe. Now, where are you guys from? Where are you from?
Marshall, Illinois.
Marshall, Illinois, right there in the News 10 viewing area. And so why is it you decided to come here to Carbondale today? You know?
To see the eclipse.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that's why everybody's coming here. All right, well, I'm so glad you stopped by, and this is really, really cool. Matt, I want to show everybody this, and I don't know how close we can get, but do you mind if I take this for a second? See, look at this. There's a little hole right there, and then you look through here, and this is out of a cereal box, and you look through here, and I don't know if we can actually see that in there. Can you see that in there, Matt? No? Okay. All right. Well, I can, and it's really a very, very good view. So anyhow, I want to thank my friends from Marshall, Illinois, for coming on over here. That is really, really neat. And you guys have a great time, okay? All right. Thank you all. Thank you all very much. People from all over the place. I am becoming I need another meteorologist here to give me an idea about what's going on, because it's starting to cloud up here. And so, Matt, come on over here. We'll see if we can get you in the shot. Matt, we have some cloud cover here. What do you think?
You know, it's starting to look like some cumulus clouds building up. They look flat to me, Kevin. I can't show the shot right here, right now, but it looks like the bottom of this cloud is starting to look a little billowy. It's got that bluish gray tinge to it. But I'm still seeing chunks of blue sky, which is promising, especially a big chunk over there. Kevin, you can see that, right?
Yes, I can. And I believe Les, the engineer who is operating our camera, is getting some shots of the clouds. And so this is what we're dealing with here. And a little bit off to the west, the clouds look a little darker. I don't believe at this point that we're in great threat of us not being able to see the eclipse here in Carbondale. From what I can tell, I think we're going to be okay. I can deal with some cloudiness, but I don't think it's going to get completely cloudy before the eclipse totality actually happens.
You know, we knew the potential for this was there, but we threw caution to the wind. I mean, you know, worst case scenario, you see some clouds. Best case scenario, you see one of the best celestial events right here on Earth, solar eclipse.
All right, very good. So let's go back over here. James, come on over here. You got, I think, something
James, you're up.
James, again, questions at Facebook, Kevin Orpert Facebook, and Matt, you might want to check those and see what you got there, bud.
You know, Earth is not the only planet that gets eclipses.
Ah.
In fact, the planet Mars, we have rovers roaming around, looking around and looking for signs of life, but they also occasionally look up, and when they do, we have, this is an annular, I guess you would call it, eclipse of Phobos, one of Mars's moons. Okay. Mars has two moons, Deimos and Phobos, and this is Phobos passing in front of the sun. The Curiosity rover looked up, took a couple pictures of it, and gave us our first unearthly eclipse.
Let me ask you a question. This may put you on the spot. Can the Earth eclipse the sun while you're on Mars?
I don't know.
All right.
He's asked me a question. I know one thing. Here's another example of an eclipse. This is the moon Io eclipsing Jupiter. Now, Jupiter is so big that all you see is a moon shadow. But we have in the past actually gotten our telescopes out and watched moon shadows dance across the face of Jupiter. Technically, if you were on the cloud tops of Jupiter, because Jupiter has no solid surface, but if you were on the cloud tops of Jupiter in the shadow, you would see a total eclipse. So they can have it too, but as for the Earth eclipsing the sun from, say, Mars, I don't know.
Well, okay. Well, thank you. I just thought I would ask. Matt, do we have any questions at this point?
It's looking a little quiet, but we do have some questions.
Okay, we do have some questions.
I'll come over and I'll join you.
Okay.
You can hear my voice and not all echoey from
Yeah,
across
okay,
the
good,
courtyard.
good. What do we have?
All right. Zachary Colby Fields says, "Hey, Kevin, how long will we have to look at the total solar eclipse without hurting our retinas?" That depends on where you are, I would think.
Yeah, it depends on where you are. No longer than, actually, what I would say, if you're in Terre Haute, if you are not in totality, you must always watch with safety glasses.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you do. And the scary thing with viewing the solar eclipse or even the sun without any of these special solar viewers, is you can't feel your retinas being burned. You can't feel the pain. It sneaks up on you, and you can see these little dots, so I've heard, if you get that retinal damage.
You know, a little while ago, you interviewed an eye doctor, an optometrist,
Yep,
right?
Dr. Gary Watts of Union Medical Group.
Okay, so we have that interview, Matt, and Scott's getting it ready, but I think you'll find this very fascinating and very informative. So I believe we do have that interview, and here it is now.
Blindness can result in even a few seconds to minutes of exposure.
Just one impact viewing a solar eclipse without protection can have on your eyes. Union Medical Group optometrist Dr. Gary Watts says you have to watch for any changes to your eyesight.
You would see just a kind of the after image of the sun and a blur centrally where you're looking at it. It's hard to say. That can be temporary. That can be permanent, that damage.
Other eye issues can include blur, glare, light sensitivity, and pain. But often you may not feel any pain at all if the sun damages your retinas.
The concern is called solar retinopathy. It's actually damage to the retinal tissue in the back of the eye. This tissue is responsible for our vision, but it doesn't have pain sensors to it.
If you believe you've had any damage from looking at the sun, the first thing you want to do is go to an ophthalmologist or an optometrist, and the first thing you're likely to do there is a visual acuity test. But if you would rather not read lines and have your eyes examined, wear the solar glasses the entire time, especially if you're not in the path of totality.
Here in Terre Haute, we are not. Even though it will be very dim, we are still not at a complete total eclipse, so it's important you keep these on if you're in the area.
The glasses should be marked ISO 12312-2 and have no scratches to the lens or lens out of place. In Terre Haute, Matt Brooks, News 10.
Orange screen. This is called the retina.
All right, welcome back, everybody. And I actually, we're just talking, James, that one of your friends, one of our co-observers here, is noticing. Did I hear you say right? The bees are starting to gather. Is that right?
Yes, there were some bees, some very large hornets flying around, and I'm always nervous around that. But he noticed that where they had been flying all over the courtyard, now they're starting to hang out around their nest. And you can kind of feel, things are starting to feel a little...
It's looking a little more dim, in my opinion.
Absolutely, and the bees have noticed.
Okay, all right, good. Matt, what do you got?
Well, thoughts. I have thoughts for you.
Good.
One can only wonder what somebody 100, 200, or perhaps even 1,000 years ago would have thought about this. They say they're wasps, going into their nest, their bees returning to their nests, and, they may wonder, what on earth is happening? Is this the end of the world? Am I in trouble? What's going on?
I think it is interesting, the impact on the human psyche. And one of the things that has been discussed is the impact on we've talked about impact on animals.
Yes.
But what about the impact on humans? I believe personally that we have ingrained deep in our subconscious, the collective unconscious, of times when the sky grew dark during the day. And because our ancient ancestors were terrified by that, it must have left some sort of an imprint on our psyche today. What do you think, Greg? Is that possible?
I think that when you associate darkness during the daytime, you sort of associate it with things that aren't necessarily good. Thunderstorms, tornadoes, those types of things. So it may just sort of be a gut reaction that it's getting darker, and it may just like bring up something that is sort of innate and primal.
All right.
Inside. It's definitely, I would say the last 15 minutes I've noticed a difference in the hue of the color here. There's sort of a glow right now.
That's a good way to describe it.
It's weird. It's not quite twilight that you would see in the evening or in the morning, but it's like a dark, summery haze. Like you can tell it just feels hot, but something isn't quite
It's kind of like
right.
you're living in an Instagram filter.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's
a good way
that's
to put
a
it.
good
Yes.
way to describe it.
So where are we sort of in the timeline?
Yeah, where are we,
Kevin?
James?
Well, let's see. Totality begins at 1:21 our time here in Illinois, 2:21 in Indiana. It is now 12:53 Illinois time, so we are less than 30 minutes away.
Okay. And so as we get closer and closer to totality, the way I understand it, because I've never witnessed a total eclipse, what I believe is going to be happening is we'll continue to see this reduction in bright sunlight, but this sort of strange sort of look. I don't think our cameras can quite do it justice, actually. It's something you have to really witness with your own eyes. And hopefully you're in a location where you can see this happening. Even if you're not in the complete path of totality, I believe that you'll be able to notice this outside of your house and so on. But I want to remind you, again, do not look at the sun. Use your special glasses or one of these solar viewer contraptions that you can make at home.
And you know, not everybody thinks that these solar eclipses were at the end of the world. Even going way back to a tribe in Benin and Togo and Western Africa, the Bata Maliba. They believe the sun...
I'm sorry, who? What?
That's a hard one to pronounce. The Bata Maliba. It's a tribe, Western Africa.
Oh, yes.
Stick with me, folks. I won't lead you down the wrong path. The sun and the moon were believed to be entities by this tribe. They weren't believed to be any entities that brought about the end of the world. In fact, they believed eclipses happened when the two of these entities, the sun and the moon, got together and hugged each other. And for them, solar eclipses were a time to reconcile, to air grievances, to make right what was wrong.
All right, you know, that brings to mind, a little earlier this afternoon, we met some people from Algeria, some astronomers, actually an astronomy club, a group of astronomers from Algeria. And I had the good pleasure of interviewing them. And so I'm going to look over to Scott and make sure we have that. Yes, we got a thumbs up. Check this out. This is a fascinating group of people, and I think you'll really enjoy what they have to say. Well, hi, everybody. This is so exciting. With people coming from all over the country here to Carbondale, Illinois, we have visitors here from Algeria. It's well, tell me what it is. This is Jamal. And Jamal, tell me about your group. Tell me why you're here.
Great. We are, in fact, a group of 13 Algerians, boys and girls, coming from that far, from Algeria, to watch this all-American eclipse. And we have high school students where the laureates of a prize, a competition, scientific competition, so they are the best of the best in our part of Algeria, so they are here at the prize. Their prize was to be among us. We have amateur astronomers, and we have people in astrophotography also with us. So it's a whole patchy group of people who love the universe and who love the astronomy who are here for this great event.
Oh, this is a great event, and I think the weather's going to be great. Now, you guys are astronomers, right?
Amateurs.
Yeah, okay. Come here. All right. Let me talk to you. What is it you hope to see today? What is it that you're really hoping to capture today?
The moment of the totality.
Okay.
That moment, yeah, that's the great moment of the totality.
Okay.
Yes, this is our aim to, that's why we came here.
Okay, all the way from Algeria. That's great. And during totality, what is it you expect to experience? What do you expect to see or have happen?
Well, what I'm actually want to expect exactly at that moment is maybe the temperature will go on and see those shadow strips. Maybe it's going to happen that we can see like the strips cross, the background of the and. The most important, actually, I want to see is see the diamond ring.
Oh yes.
So at least I send it as as a love and peace for around the world.
So this is a peaceful event. Is that right? Okay. Yeah. All right. Good. Now let me come on over here. You're the high school student. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And you won a contest to get here. All right. What did you do to win this contest?
We passed the test, everything test, and it was, they had 2 rounds. Yeah, we won.
Okay, well, good. Congratulations. Welcome to Carbondale and the United States. All right, this is really cool. Who else can I talk to? Let me talk with you. Here, I'll just step right in between here. All right. Now, you're coming from Algeria also.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to get here?
So long. We spent on the plane about 20 hours.
20 hours? Yeah. Okay, wow. And it's going to be clear. What would you have done if it was cloudy today?
It would be awful.
It would be awful. Yes, it would. Yes, it would. Well, welcome to the United States for the Great American Eclipse. And this is very unique, you know, because this is the first time since 1918 that an eclipse has gone across the entire United States. So this is very special.
Yes.
All right, good. Well, welcome to our country. All right, here's somebody else here. We doing?
How are you doing?
I'm great. I'm great. Now, you're here too. Did you win the contest, or you just tagged?
No, I'm from the delegation that will assure the management and the good just management of the whole thing.
Okay, to make sure everything works
Yeah,
out,
works
right?
out,
Make
yeah.
sure everybody's fine.
That's
Okay. Now you have a vest on here.
Yeah.
Turn this around. I'm sorry. It's on your backpack. Okay. Sirius Astronomy Association, Algeria. All right. Now tell me about that. That's a pretty big deal, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the biggest astronomy association in Algeria, and we every year we do this contest, and the prize is go to a country to visit something that has a relationship with physics or astronomy. Like last year we went to Cambridge University, and the Newton, like it was the Newton path in England. Before that it was southern France, observatories of southern France, Bateau de Calais, Observatory of Nice, Haute-Provence, the one where they discovered the first exoplanet. This is also ITER, I think, the fusion reactor that they are building right now.
Wow, wow.
And yeah, before that it was the Large Hadron Collider in CERN, Switzerland.
Okay.
And every year it's new country, new theme, and it's all about astronomy and physics.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you get around, don't you?
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. All right. I'm going to go back over here. Is it Jamar, right?
Yes, Jamar.
Okay. Jamar, I just want to thank you for taking time to talk with us. Now, one of you guys had a banner.
Yeah.
Is that right? Let's. You have it? Let's spread this out for one last time.
You will be with us.
Yes.
And,
Yes,
take
I
a picture
will.
with you.
Check this out, folks. Yep. There we go. A group from Algeria, astronomers at WTHI-TV.com. Thank you guys all. Let's all wave, right? Let's say hello. And thanks for joining us. Good luck, you guys.
Thank you very much.
Have a great day. All right. All right, everybody, we are back here in Carbondale, and the time here in Illinois is 2 minutes after 1 o'clock. It's 2 after 2 in Indiana. I want to invite everybody and thank everybody for joining us here at WTHI-TV.com for coverage of the solar eclipse. Now, I happen to know that in the WTHI viewing area, there are severe thunderstorms going on. And so the ability to see the eclipse is probably not all that great. In other portions, in other parts of the country, all along our Heartland Media affiliates, there also are areas where the sky is obscured. And so we are your best source to see this eclipse as it progresses across the sky. So let's show the sun now as we can see it, as the moon is now really crossing the disk of the sun. And James, it's not going to be long now, and already we have this eerie sort of a look here in Carbondale.
Yes, it is. The moon's got 75% coverage, so we're down to the home stretch, I believe. And you're right, things are getting a little odd.
Well,
just a little.
Yeah, they are. And we have some questions.
We do have some viewer questions. Just getting into the old iPhone here sometimes.
Okay.
It takes a while to get into.
You know, for those areas where it is a little bit cloudy right now, I guess the good news this time around is that we get another chance in just 7 years. And is the date for that one April?
April 8th.
So meteorologically speaking, the chance of clouds should be less in April than in the heat of the summer months that we are now.
I would hope so, unless we get some of those April springtime thunderstorms, and Matt Brooks would be in charge of that, including other areas across the United States, because I really want to mention our Heartland affiliate stations who have so graciously picked up this web stream. And I hope you're finding it interesting. I hope you're finding it informative. We have a lot of information, a lot of which we have not covered. Now, some of you may be familiar with the Mark Twain story, A Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court. Now, there's the time when the hero in the Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court, because here's a Yankee from Connecticut who gets transported back to medieval times in the court of King Arthur, and so he gets in big trouble, and they're going to put him to death.
I think there was a 90s movie called A Kid in King Arthur's Court.
Oh,
too.
is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, so this person happened to know that there was going to be an eclipse, and so he starts to bargain with the people who are going to put him to death, and so this sun now starts to be blocked from the sky more and more and more. And back in medieval times, they weren't quite sure what was going on. And so his life was spared because of a solar eclipse, according to Mark Twain's story. And Mark Twain was a great astronomy buff. He loved looking at the sky. He kept pretty good diaries of what was happening with the planets and the ones that were visible and so on. So he was quite the guy to write a really cool story like that.
So I'm wondering, and I don't know as far as dates, my history's not right, would he have been around for one of these eclipses that we talked about earlier?
You know, I don't have that right in front of me, Greg, and I don't believe I saw that. I was reading some stuff about King Arthur, or about Mark Twain. Might as well be the same person, right?
Right.
Yeah, it's a very special person.
I have a couple of dates of solar eclipses in the Americas. 1878, 1889, 1900. I think these are all dates which we can reasonably say without a doubt Mark Twain would have been around.
Samuel Clemens passed away in 1910 during Halley's Comet's flyby. He was born 76 years before when Halley's Comet came through, and like the comet, he went out with it in 1910. So he would have seen several of these eclipses.
So it's safe to say that something like we're experiencing today sort of set something in him that got him writing.
I would think so. Yes, I would think so. Speaking of writing, you go to Homer's Odyssey.
Oh, this is way back.
Yeah. Homer's Odyssey, which is commonly dated to about 800 BC, describes the 10-year voyage of the Greek general Odysseus and the fall of Troy in about 1200 BC. Now, during the course of this story, it seems that when Odysseus had his homecoming, there was a sort of a reference to a solar eclipse. And so with that in mind, it is possible that this is a reference to an eclipse that happened way before that, perhaps on April the 16th, 1178 BC. And so Homer's Odyssey may very well have a reference to the April 16th, 1178 BC